so we're going to officially start. Thanks for hanging in there with us. That was like behind the scenes. All right, so we'll do intros again as people have come in. Hi, I'm Jen Donahoe. You saw me earlier. If you were in here, you will see a lot more of me. I'm on Deconstructor of Fun and a strategic marketing consultant for Beta Hat and Jade Inferno. It'd be nice if I say my own company's name correctly. Rina, why don't you go for it?
Hey guys, I'm Rina Onur, co-founder, CEO of Spike Games, a young mobile gaming company focused on casual games. And prior to that, I was a co-founder at Peak Games, again, building mobile casual games for the past, however many years it has
14.
been. Yeah, something like that. I don't want to spell it out as much, but I guess if you do the basic math,
Since
that's 14
2010.
years. Yeah.
All right. My name is Steve Wang. I'm the ABS gaming performance engineering lead at Google. I've been working on app campaigns since the beginning in 2014 when we started the project. So it's also been 10 years. And
Cool. Rachel.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachael. I'm a global product lead on apps bidding and optimization. And today I'll be covering iOS and privacy. So excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. All right. So today this conversation is timely because of everything going on with the DMA. Privacy is, no one's ever been actually interested in that, but I think in our world we have to be. So we're going to focus this conversation a little bit more on that. And we have some Google experts here to talk about how they're thinking about it. And then, Rina, obviously from the game side of how it's impacting a real life game. And so hopefully some of the stories will help you with what do you need to take away from the privacy changes. So we're going to kick it off first with Dee. Mm-hmm. Dee, what the hell is going on with the DMA? Just spill it for us.
Yeah, so DMA, for those who don't know, DMA is a new set of competitive regulation from the EU that went into effect, I believe, yesterday. Yeah. So DMA is actually a fairly complex set of regulations. There's many, many articles. I believe for this audience, mostly marketers and for UA, the key article is internally, is an external article, but it's 5.2. It probably doesn't mean anything to anyone, but it means a lot to me. So 5.2, basically what it says is that a big company like Google or Facebook, right, or Meta, has to divide ourselves into what's called core platform services, or CPSs, right? So for Google, YouTube will be a CPS, Google Play will be a CPS, Google Search will be a CPS, Google Ads will be a CPS. And then between CPS, we cannot actually share user data without consent, all right, GDPR consent. So what does that mean practically, right? For Google, one example would be of data sharing for us, right? That's relevant to the audience here would be what we call Play install data that we use for negative filtering. Google Play obviously has a real-time stream of users installing games or apps, right? And they will send those to Google Ads to us, and we will try as fast as possible to put that into our negative filtering algorithm so that, we never target an ad to a user who already installed the game, right? Because that is not efficient. With DMA in EU, we no longer can just do that without user consent. So this would be one example of the regulation reducing the efficiency of UA campaigns, at least for Google. With that said, we have been working on mitigations, so it's not that bad, but nothing's going to be as good as having a real-time stream of unfiltered data, right? Now, DMA just gone into effect, and one of the major unknown factors is the actual consent rate, right? How many users consent to sharing data within Google, between Google CPSs. I don't have that data right now because it just happened yesterday. So if you have a lot of spend in Europe, I will pay attention to your campaigns and work with the sales leads.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. And so I understand that you have gotten no sleep since what was the date that it went into effect yesterday?
Yesterday. So I've been in Europe, so Istanbul in this lovely city. I was like,
you're in the future now.
right? There's some outages here and there. We're trying to make sure our systems are working. It's the people back in the headquarters are not getting any sleep. I'm fine. I'm here.
So what's important is, Rina, you now have somebody to yell at when you go through your section. So how is this, the DMA, impacting you guys and how you're thinking about your advertising?
Yeah, well, obviously, as Dee said, we understand the righteous mission of trying to curb excessive data collection from the user's perspective. So that mission in itself, when you just simply put that, it's a noble one. But the way that affects the platforms, which kind of trickle all the way down to the content developers, is it curbs our endeavors and our efforts in targeting, retargeting, and ad monetization. So basically decreases the relevance of the types of ads that we can show to people. So at the end of the day, I'm not sure how it's benefiting people if we can't show them what they actually wanted to see, but just random other stuff. But yes, so what gaming has been really good at over the years is that these changes have been happening. Like DMA is one of them, IDFA and SCAN was prior. So we go through a lot of changes, and the beauty of gaming is that it's filled with people who are early adopters and very flexible and adapting to the changes. So IDFA was the biggest change, and I think it affected the way that gaming companies approach UA, not as an afterthought, but bringing it back into like the brainstorming and the product development and the product roadmap cycle. So that continues, and DMA is just another lever on top of that. Something else we have to think about in potentially curbing a platform that was working better previously. But yeah, we'll adapt.
No, it makes sense. I mean, Dee, I think you want to go, as Google, you want to go a little bit deeper into, how some of the regulations are really impacting, developers.
Right. Yeah, as Rina said, right, it's not ideal, right? We're losing efficiency, and this is really hurting, right, the monetization models for many advertisers. The IDFA has been by far the biggest one, right? But laws like DMA also, continually reduces. What makes it even more challenging, truthfully, is that, those regulations and changes don't stand still, right? Apple continually updates their policy. I think, Google is very slow on this, but, some other companies have, for example, put in mitigations on the iOS platform. We don't know how durable those are, right? Apple could very easily change their policy. I think it was talked about during keynote, right? Apple has a lot of things they are balancing, but it's very likely that over time, right, they will put it into those mitigations as well. Yeah. So it's always changing, when we have to respond, right? DMA is the same. A few years ago, we had GDPR. Then I guess the regulator realized GDPR is actually causing, giving more power possibly to like the big platforms like Google, Facebook, right, Meta. And now they're past DMA to try to reduce some of that power. But again, that's reducing the efficiency of the advertising. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. Yeah.
So as we're thinking about the IDFA changes and how privacy really changed everything, I think about MarTech stacks had to change. Gone are the days of deterministic. My finance friends are all very sad about this. So one of the things, Rina, as you think about how you do it in today's world, how are you thinking about, we can't really use deterministic. What are you using for you to define measurement, and how is your CFO talking to you still?
Not only my CFO, my CMO, my head of data, everybody. And the world has completely changed, especially compared to what we were doing at peak, where the entire world were deterministic. We didn't have a creative strategy back then because we would just build a bunch of videos and static images and just put them into campaigns, and whatever worked, they worked. That world is gone. So right now, the world has shifted into really, really understanding your audience and having a creative strategy that works on top of that. Like not blindly like throwing assets or creatives into a campaign and hoping it works because you will not have enough data. Second is like testing an order of magnitude more compared to what you used to do, and cross-referencing and cross-checking data from all of these different sources and campaigns and trials, so that since you don't have a deterministic data set and data model, you can predict and kind of fill in the gaps in the puzzle. basically, right now, because of the IDFA, we use Android first when we're testing out because we have more clarity there. So everything goes into Android first, gets tested, and as soon as we have a little more idea, we just do the global scale wider launch. And what we're trying to do is try to run a lot of isolated tests to try to understand the true performance of certain networks and sources. And then, again, as I said, go back to our data and U18s and try to hope to piece the puzzle together to get a complete set. But as we always say, creative is the new targeting.
Yeah, it is a lot about, even back in the day when we did have deterministic, I spent a lot of time on creative strategy because I was on brands. A lot of my games are brands, and you have to get approvals and things like that. So it's interesting to know that, for you guys, it's really kind of leveled to the top.
Yeah.
When you think about other pieces of advice that you might have for game companies, so creative strategy, anything else that kind of comes to mind?
Well, sources and networks have been incredibly receptive to everything that's happening because that also affects their businesses. If stuff doesn't work for us, then they lose business, right? So it's bad for everybody. So a lot of these networks have been very receptive and proactive in trying to find mitigations and ways around the new regulations or the changes. So you have to align yourselves on platforms who are more collaborative and are always looking forward with the newest technology, whether it's fingerprinting or something else that gives you more control and more clarity. And align yourselves with those networks, with those account managers who are going to listen to you, get your feedback, tweak something within their technology, and come back and get you testing again. In this case, it is good to be an early adopter. Test everything that comes out first, see if it works, because there's going to be a window opportunity before everybody jumps in. So if you can have like a couple of weeks of better targeting compared to your marketers, then why not? So that's something I would, I guess, recommend to people who are starting out.
I have always told our teams to jump on any new product because being a guinea pig in that world is actually the best
an
place
advantage.
to be a guinea pig.
Yeah.
Maybe not in some other worlds.
But this world it is.
Yeah, this world's great.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit, Rachel's here, an expert in iOS at Google, which is a fun place for you to be, I'm sure. I'm sure you have like a t-shirt, like the Kelsey mom with the two teams. Okay, sorry, American football joke. Sorry.
I'm giving out bumper stickers at the end of this.
Okay, yes, excellent. So can you talk a little bit about how you think first-party data is playing a role, and what can we learn from what you know about iOS and what's going on?
Yeah, I think with these legacy technologies like IDFA and third-party cookies going away, it's more important than ever to have a first-party data strategy. And I think this is twofold. So on one hand, you have it's outside of ads. It's good for your business because you can actually go a lot deeper with your user base. You can save their game progress. You could give them VIP benefits. You could upsell. You could cross-sell. So not only is it a future-proofing tactic, but it's also a really good just practice in general. And then on the other hand, from an ads perspective, having a first-party data strategy is going to marginally improve your performance. And this is where we introduced a newer solution called on-device conversion measurement. I'm curious how many people are on board with that already. But
raise your hand.
Yeah, raise your hand.
Anybody? Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yes,
a couple. So for those that maybe it's new for, this actually collects your consented email addresses and phone numbers, and then uses that to increase your observable conversions to then improve your conversion modeling and then ultimately your campaign performance. And this was actually built with these privacy changes in mind. So no underlying information about the user actually leaves the device, and it doesn't get disclosed to any other external parties. It actually doesn't even get disclosed to Google. So I think first-party data is the future, regardless actually of operating system. I think it's a good practice, and I think those that get ahead of it will be ahead, because I don't think it's going anywhere soon.
Yes, I think 1PD is the new acronym of the industry for first-party data. It's
that could be a new buzzword.
Yeah, it's the new buzzword. There needs to be a talk on how you set that up at a company, because that is not an easy thing to say. Everyone's like, oh, just do that. It is not when you're a smaller company. So digging in a little bit more on iOS, how are the models changing as you think about adhering to all of the new rules?
Yeah, so the more signals that you provide your campaign, the better your advertising outcomes are going to be. And that is looking like the future. So whether those signals come from what I just mentioned, on-device measurement or not, that's totally optional. It could come from another first-party data strategy. It could come from consented ATT users. There could be strategy about how to increase that opt-in rate even. There's actually another product that we're working on called Scan Event Integration. And this actually is slightly different. It doesn't require any kind of consented data in that way. What it does is it takes your scan conversion value schema, which is Apple's new measurement methodology that's intended to measure post-install activity, and it integrates that with our TCPA and TROS campaigns to actually provide additional signals and then ultimately improve your campaign performance. And I'm not sure if anyone in this room has heard yet, but this is actually expanding to in-app ads monetization later this year. So I know that's a big one for this group. So,
breaking news!
Breaking news.
Do we get
right
a
on the
bumper sticker
stage.
for that? You get 2 bumper stickers from the team.
You heard it here first.
I'm throwing them out at the end.
Is there anything else about Scan that you want to dig into about Scan performance, or do we check all the boxes on Scan?
We could definitely go deeper if you want.
Oh, let's hear it. No, I think everyone. I mean, besides everyone complaining about Scan, you have. Well, first, Rina,
Yeah.
what you have a great comment about Scan.
What are you talking about? I love Scan.
Yeah, I think if I were going to add one thing, I'd say that measurement has changed in the industry, and it's a new world that we're in, a new reality that we have to come to. And I would say that there's a lot of places where you can actually measure your iOS-specific performance today. There's, your AAPs, there's Google Ads, front-end modeled conversions. There's also SK Ad Network. And I think the best way to tackle that today is actually taking a holistic picture of all three. There's going to be trade-offs when you look at each kind of measurement methodology, but ultimately, I think looking at all three places will give you the most holistic picture and the best kind of picture that you can make your assessment and evaluate your campaign performance.
Nice. Okay. Any parting thoughts? We have a few minutes left, and I've run out of questions on my iPad. So.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I can talk about some of the mitigation stuff we're trying to do. And this is related to, trying to collect as much data as possible, right? Including, what was the acronym? 1P?
First party data?
First party data?
Yeah.
Oh, 1PD. 1PD, yes. Okay. I remember that. So on the technical side, right, we're also working with research to improve our modeling techniques, right? Especially with regards to partial data, right? One example will be what we call transfer learning, right? Can we use Android data? Right. If you have running advertising campaigns on Android, iOS, can we, learn audiences from Android, right? And then try to do the same type of targeting on iOS. Can we take the consented traffic on iOS and try to predict that project out to unconsented traffic, right? So there are several mitigations going on, and hopefully over the long term, right, they improve as the technology improves and our research team.
And something that's interesting, I think, both for the game developers and also for people in the industry. I think back in the day, before all of these changes, when we were building our UA teams, it was very natural for marketing professionals or marketing teams to have a strong background in brand, and maybe that only. Now that skill set has completely changed.
Yeah.
You have to have a lot of high-level quant and analytical skills, because not only you have to have a creative strategy, you have to test a ton and do isolated tests and then stitch them back together to triangulate and get to a result. You have to do a lot of proprietary modeling with the data that you have to actually get from point A to point B, because there's no step in between. So I think the type of teams that we have to build, and in return, the type of people that come into the industry to perform these jobs, that has shifted a little bit to encompassing a lot of more quant and analytical skills.
So how do you think about that for you at Spike?
So I think depends on the life cycle of the game, to be honest with you, because like up until a certain point, until your game reaches certain maturity or scale, there's so much stuff to be done under the sky in just performance marketing.
Yeah.
So just sitting in front of a desktop, like running campaigns, modeling, triangulating, all of that. But then after a while, it gets so expensive that investing into brand, like the old school method of doing things, becomes more sensible. So then you change your team and you change your entire budget. Say this goes into performance, this goes into brand building for the company or for the products or the product suites. So it changes, but since we're very young, Tilebuster is still in early days, we haven't come to that point yet. But at peak, there was a point where it made more sense to invest in TV and Ryan Reynolds than go give more ads on Facebook.
Got it. So did you ever start with brand though? So I always
Not
wonder,
us.
You guys
I think
didn't.
Turkish gaming companies are notoriously bad at that. We don't know how to do it. So there's still much to be learned.
Okay. Any final thoughts? All good? All right. We're going to wrap this one up. So thank you guys. This is Privacy.